सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततत्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So we are following verses number 13 to 21 and so 13 to 21 is a group as we went over last time, and we already revised 13 through 17. So let's do this. Let's pronounce 18, 19, 20 and 21. Four verses. Numbers, so let's start with number 18. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavihastini Shuni Chaiva Shvapakecha Pandita Samadarshinaha Ihaivatayirjita sargaha Yesham samye sthitam manaha Nirdosham hi samam brahma Tasmad brahmani te sthitaha Na prahyeshvat priyam prapya No dveti jet prapya cha priyam Sthira buddhi rasam mudhaha Brahmavid brahmani sthitaha Bahyasparsheshu asaktatma Vindati atmani yat sukham Sabrahma yoga yuktatma Sukham akshayam ashnute. So, as often happens in the Bhagavat Gita, as we have seen, really just a quick revision and a repetition of that. So, Bhagavad Gita is what is called a Yoga Shastra. So Yoga Shastra means how do we become successful. This is the whole thing is about how. And of course, part of that is, what do you mean to be successful? So this is the thing that we need to be very clear about. So really speaking, Bhagavat Gita, if we just step back for a second, defines what success is. And then proceeds to advise us on how to be successful. So the question is, what is success? What do we mean by success? So the question is, does success mean, money? Is it some fact that I am so secure, I don't have to beg anymore from money, I don't have to worry about money? Is that what success is? Or is the success where everybody thinks very highly of me? Is that what a success is, where everybody thinks, wow, this guy is very good. I wonder, I wish I'd be like him. If I can reach that where, that will be so wonderful. Is that what success is? So really, I think we should examine that. So Sri Krishna says that please understand what success really means. What success means is, I am an independent source of joy. If we were to define success, this is what it would come out to be. I am an independent source of joy. So there's a lot in it. So one of them, a lot in this statement, that is. So one important thing is joy. Because if you are successful, but you are stressed out, that's not a success. It's not a success. I still remember this when, a long time ago, even before I even began my search for Vedanta. I had not even met any of the Swamis. I had sort of heard about, and I'm from a Arya Samaj background, and so there was some pujas being done and so on and so forth. But really, I was not a thinking person in terms of what am I doing or anything like this. And it was much later in my life that I began. But I remember, what I'm just giving you the example for is 1971. I didn't meet Swami Chinmananji until 1973. But in 71, I was working with IBM in India. And I was with San Jose here for about 7 years, and then I got recruited to a very senior job, and I was given a car and a chauffeur and so on. So I remember going to the office in the morning, and I'm sitting in the back seat, and the chauffeur is driving me to the office, and I was looking around the scene, and next to us are some bicyclists, and there's this bicycle where there's a guy riding the bicycle, and the back seat there's a person sitting on the back seat. There are both of them are adults. And they are in the middle of the dust and heat, and I am sitting in this nice car and so on and so forth. And I'm worried about what am I going to do today, and and so on. And these two guys were laughing and joking and having a fun time. And in one of the stop signs, I was just observing them. I said, there is something wrong with this picture. And really that started my thinking. This is how this, it paused me to say that, compared to them, I am very successful. I got this great job with IBM and I am stressed out. And these two guys, they probably are, some entry-level peons, or I don't know what they were doing and so on. And they're having a time of their life. I said, this is not, there is something, this. So really, success, what does it mean? Success should mean having an independent source of joy. So any dependence, any non-joy is not good, and any dependence is not good. So at least we have some joy, but it is dependent joy. When you have exactly all the right breakfast and the same things that you really like, you are joyful for about 10 minutes. After that, then you have to start worrying about what to do next, this, that, or the other. Again, so actually in Vedantic terms, a annam, meal, is a very important source of joy. Very important source, because there is nothing else that gives you as much pleasure as having, when you're not only having your thirst and your hunger, you are joyful. This is what is called alam buddhi. And Swami Dayanand used to say that nothing else gives you alam buddhi as eating. Alam buddhi means that's enough. In anything else, you do not get alam buddhi. Even if you make, I'm giving you this example. This is an interesting thing. When I first heard of Tesla, this is like, 7, 8, 9 years ago. Somebody told me that you should buy this Tesla stock. I don't do any stock, but about 7, 8 years ago, and I still, even for about 12, 13 years, I have not had any, I don't do any I just give it to someone, let them manage the money. But someone told me that you should buy this Tesla stock because it's a very good thing. So I had never heard of the Tesla. So I put some money in. Sure enough, within a couple of days, my money went up by 50%. And I was so joyed. This is wonderful. This is free money. So I was talking to my sons, and I said, I bought this Tesla stock, and my stock has gone up. I think I bought it at 30, and it went up to like 42 or something like that. I was very happy. My son said, Dad, what are you doing? This is a very risky stock. Why do you want? I said, I just have a small amount of money. I didn't. He says, no, just sell it. You just sell it. I sold it. So the happiness there also was very relative. Now I regret it. Why did I? Same thing is true for Google. It talks to Amazon, and all of these. If you heard, so really, joys are very fleeting and very relative. But the definition of success in Gita is, if you can be independently joyful, truly independently, meaning even the diseases of the body do not affect you. Even death does not affect you. That is the measure of success. And I'm not even cognizant that it is possible. It is possible. Not even possible. But if it is possible, and there is a way to be successful to that point, that should hold my interest. that should definitely hold my interest. So this is what Gita is all about, really speaking. Number one, to define success is what is called Brahma Vidya, Sadhya, and how to achieve that success. I have, and you know, the interesting thing is that the very lesson of Bhagavad Gita is that you are already successful, but you don't know it. Because we have, again, I'll just revise the very basics of acquisition. When you acquire something, there are two ways of acquiring something. So here we are talking about acquiring success. So the acquisition of something is of one of two kinds. One is called apraptasya prapti and one is called praptasya prapti. So many of you have already familiar with it, just in case you're not. So generally speaking, our acquisition is something that I don't currently have and I want to get it. So here means that it is the normal way of getting things. But it is possible there is another way that you already have it but you don't know it. It is called praptasya prapti. So praptasya prapti, have small examples of that would be that your keys are in your pocket but you just have overlooked looking at it and you don't know it. Something really so stupid, really, I was thinking. So these glasses that I have, first of all, they have two qualities. One is that I can see pretty much without it. I can actually go through the whole day without it. Maybe the long thing I may not be able to see very well, but so my eyesight is not that bad. The other one is that it is very light. So when I put it on, I'm sharing my stupidity. The other day I had these darn things on, but my thinking was that I don't have them. And I was really looking for it. I'm just telling you that. And luckily I didn't have anybody in the household to ask, but finally I gave up. And I said, you know what, I can drive without it. Then I realized, oh my goodness, I already have it. So this is an example of praptasya prapti. So in Gita the message is, please, the success that you are seeking is your very nature. So you are going around searching, and in fact the nature of this kind of search is the more you search, the less you will find it. Because it is really yourself, but you're already looking at something other than yourself for finding success. This is the really thing. And so we should remember this, that the two main sections of the Bhagavad Gita is define success, and as the definition of success says, you are already as much as you can be. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satchidananda Brahma. Aham Asmi Sahadabhyami. And so, time and time again, it says that you are already successful. You don't realize it. So, for example, in the second verse of this very important book called Advaita Makaranda, there is a Lakshmi Dhara is the author of that. In the second verse, it says, Ahamasmi sadabhami kadachitnahi apriyaha siddha eva, I forget the second verse, the second line of the verse, tathahi is aham siddham Brahma Satchidananda Lakshanam. Okay, so just look at the just dwell on this for a second. So, I think I lack three things. And I'm anxious to have all three things that I lack. So, my understanding about myself is that I don't have these three things. And I want these three things. What are the three things? Number one, I want to be. I never want to not be. That's not a good thing for me to even. And so if you just stay on that part of it, I am very vulnerable. I think I can disappear any minute. And I don't want to disappear. I want to stay. This is number one. The second one is that I don't want to be not aware of the fact that I am. Like supposing you were to say, okay, you want to be, all right, like this Egyptian mummy. Can you believe it? So when the very rich people in Egypt were there, they were given some kind of a special dressing so that they can live there forever. So would you want to be like an Egyptian mummy who's dead, but is always there? Or like supposing you are in a coma. So I remember there was somebody I know, so they are three sisters. And so their mother, she lived, wonderful lady, and she lived until about she was 90, 91 or so on. And very loving person and very helpful to everybody and so on. And she fell into a coma. And so now the three sisters, all this, they had a question, they had a decision to make. Should we disconnect her? Or should we just continue to let her be in a coma? They decided to let her be in a coma, thinking that she might wake up. Do you know this old lady was in a coma for 2 years? And the amount of medical expenses, and she died after 2 years. But none of her three daughters wanted to make a decision to pull the plug. So the second requirement that we have is, first of all, I want to be. The second one is, I want to be aware. If you say, okay, if you want to be, okay, we have figured out a medicine where you can live forever. You'll never die. But you'll be in a coma. You don't know you're alive. I said, no, that's not what I want to be. So I want to know that I am. The third one is, I want to be joyful. I want to be happy. You see, this third is an important thing, because there are people who commit suicide, willingly commit suicide. And so you can say, how can you say that everybody wants to be? Because this fellow, he committed suicide. He wants to be not be. How? Because I want to be, but I want to be joyful. And I don't want to be suffering. As I was telling you, there's a friend of mine that passed away about 3-4 months ago, in April. And so he had told his son that if I am on my deathbed, please ask my friend Vijay Kapoor to come and give me some advice. So I went to his hospital, and he was really suffering. He was just not being able to breathe. He was on a ventilator, and so I spoke to him a little bit. And his son could not make the decision to whether to pull the plug or not. Because, you want your dad to survive, because you never know, he might. So I talked to this gentleman, and I read him some Gita, chapter 8 and so on. Then I asked him, tell me, do you want to go? He says, I don't want to suffer. So both a person, now in this case he was not in a position to do anything about it, or a person who is otherwise quite okay, but he must commit suicide, jumps off of a thing. Why? Because the third thing is we want to be, and we want to be happy doing it. Anyway, he passed away, and his son also was okay with it. Everything went okay. He passed away, and he's gone. Now look at this. I just want to just tell you about these three things, that this is what is called praptasya prapti. So just think about this. This is called an acquisition already acquired. You are, but you don't know it. You have the glasses on, but you're searching for glasses. So similarly, now look at this one thing I just want to just show to you. Okay? Listen carefully to this. You think you want to be. Everybody wants to be. That's resolved. So now, in everybody wanting to be, there is an implicit assumption that I can go any minute. And in fact, there is an implicit assumption that I am changing. I'm growing older by the minute. I get new evidence. Every time I look in the mirror, I say, oh my God, there's a new wrinkle. Which really foretells that my life is changing. I cannot hold on to anything. Isn't it? This is the thing. Bhagavat Gita says no. In fact, it is a funny situation. It is an incredibly funny situation. If Ishvara is listening, which he must be saying, oh my, to everybody, not just to this class, oh my God, his God, oh me. I cannot believe that people are making such a mistake. How? In fact, the only person who is not changing is you. How? Just look at this. So employ all three methods. Yukti, Shruti, Yukti and Anubhava, as we have discussed it many times before, to see the truth of this fact. What fact? That you are the only thing which is not changing. Everything else is changing. How do you mean that? That you is what you say I. Yes, I say I to myself, but how is it that I am not changing? Is it possible for I to disappear at any time? Everything around the I is changing, but the I is not changing. I is the same thing in all experiences, is I. I was, I am, not sure about I will be, that remains to be seen, but I am. Even in pleasant experiences you are there, I am happy. Unpleasant, I am unhappy. That's a separate thing, whether you are unhappy or that we'll deal with it on a separate level. But just look at your existence. We're just talking about existence at this point. Is it possible for the I not to exist? No. And in fact, it is the same I for everyone. Oh my goodness, what an amazing thing. Everyone is saying I. And that I is the conscious entity I. I know. I am. That is common to everyone. And not common, it is the same. There is the Brahman, that is the Ishvara. That is you. And that I never changes. Never changes. In all your experiences, you are always I. What you are may be different. I'm happy, I'm unhappy, I'm young, I'm old, all those kinds of things. But the common one is I. So it's a very interesting situation. That I, which is already accomplished, which is your only nature, is now not understood. And you define your life in terms of some parameters that are not you. Your body is not you. It is an external parameters. And from the standpoint of the body, you feel, I won't be. I'm very vulnerable. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I. Can I ever disappear? Well, before my birth, I was not there. That's an assumption. That's an assumption on your part, which is not true. In fact, in Vedanta, everything needs to have a pramana. Pramana means a proof. You cannot just say something without a pramana. And there is a pramana for your body to be born. There is a pramana. There are some witnesses. Your mom, your dad, the nurse, the doctor, the hospital, and all those kinds says, yep, person, this baby was born. Yep, there is a pramana for it. This is what is called a birth certificate. The other day it was interesting, my wife she's starting to get Social Security. And so, and I guess now all the rules are changing. So they said, you need to give the original birth certificate. We can't find the original birth certificate. So luckily it is there in her hometown, and we had her brother actually search for it and so on. So, but who keeps these original birth certificates? But it's there, it's needed. So we're trying to get it for them and so on. So the birth certificate is a pramana for the body. Now, how are we going to get a certificate for the birth of I? How are we going to do that? The only way you can do that is, so how do you say the birth of anything? So this is what is called prak abhava. Prak abhava. Prak abhava means, this is the pramana which is used to certify where something is born. And that means prak abhava. It means that before this time, this thing was not there. And then after this point in time, this thing came. So now there is a birth. This is called a birth. So tell me, how can I be certified as having a birth? Well, the only thing we can say is there must be someone who is aware of consciousness being born. I means consciousness. That is the swarupa of the I. That is the very nature of the I. So that's another problem we have, is that somehow the consciousness is seen to be a quality of me. Like, I am tall, therefore I am tall, tallness is my quality. And I am conscious, therefore consciousness must be also my quality. As though I am independent and consciousness is imported from outside, from some place. Some things happen. Some birth has to be given and so on and so forth, and then consciousness is given to me. This is another nonsense. The consciousness is really my nature. Who is going to certify consciousness? Can't be done, because there's only one consciousness, which is the one I, one vastu for everyone, which is nothing but Parameshwara. Who is going to certify that? So therefore, I have a vague idea that I was born. Vague idea. It's just an assumption. Everybody, you ask somebody, just, because you cannot have majority in these things. Truth doesn't stand majority. You cannot say, I have polled 50,000 residents of Milpitas and they all say I was born. So therefore I is born. You can't say that. Truth doesn't belong to, it's either they're true or not true. Whether you believe it or not, it has nothing to do with it. So you cannot say that I was born. So going back to it, just look at what we are saying is that this is what is called praptasya prapti. You are already there, but not aware of it and confused about it. And one of the confusion is the assumption that I was not there at some point in time. In fact, this is what I think you should see this very clearly. There is, people say, if we were to discuss the concept that we are discussing in our classes and so on, and you discuss it with some friend, let's say somebody who is a professor at major universities, and you're discussing, I go to these classes in Bhagavat Gita, and this guy was saying that I is always there and so on. What will he say? He says, where is the proof? Show me the proof. And therefore, I am a scientist. I only can prove things that I can replicate in the laboratory. You guys are just, Vedanta is just some beliefs and so on and so forth. It's just the other way around. It is just the other way around. Vedanta is much more scientific than the scientists. Much more. Enormously more scientific than. How? Because the scientists believe that I was born without any proof. No, I can never be born. The body is born, the mind is born, the senses are born. Life is also born, by the way. Life is also born. Yes, life can be born. Life means pranaha. Pranaha is nothing but Vayu Shakti, Hiranyagarbha. That can be born. But I'm talking about Atma. I. So just walk around and disprove it if you can. You know what? I disappear. Even at night when you're asleep, I does not disappear. Never disappears. Consciousness never disappears. It always is. So I is praptasya prapti. And so also for all the other two things. My knowledge never disappears. And the most confusing part is that my ananda also doesn't disappear, but because I view it from the standpoint of its application in the body-mind complex, it seems to disappear. It doesn't, as we will prove it as time goes on. So really even though the definition of success in the Bhagavad Gita is very clearly pointed out, and it is pointed out as something you are already successful. Praptasya prapti. And so the basic issue is not acquiring the ability to live long, ability to be happy, ability not to be in a coma. Nothing of that is to discover that your very reality is you are the only real thing there is. And yet, because of lives of confusion and ignorance and all of that, not understanding it, I refuse to believe it. And so slowly, this needs to be done. And in fact, now we can close the books on this, that really speaking, what Karma Yoga is your ability to see that you are already free. And in fact, I would say that the beauty and the utility and the importance of Bhagavad Gita is in the how of it. How do I understand? Obviously, to understand what success is, but how do I know that I am, what you say is true? Because I don't believe it. I don't experience it. Right now, my experience is that I am very limited. I am generally unhappy. This is my experience. And you're telling me just the opposite. How? And so the beauty and the importance of the Bhagavad Gita is that it gives you the how. And so this is epitomized by the word yoga. And that's why every chapter, if you know, is ending with the word yoga. And the word yoga means the how. That is the real meaning of the word yoga, means this way, by doing it this way. So karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, all of that may be, but it is the yoga word means how. So if you look at the karma yoga, which we have been discussing now for several chapters now, it means that because a human being is being given a basic kriya shakti, the ability to act, to be active, to contribute and to flow and make progress and so on. That is part and parcel of every being. It's a big problem if you're born with inability to see or to do, or you're born with a coma. It can happen, which is exception to the rule, not the rule. The rule is that everyone is given jnana shakti, kriya shakti, ichha shakti as soon as you're born. So this shakti means the ability to do, to know, to desire, is a shakti given to us. The only question is, how do we use the shakti for my own good? And so, for example, karma means the actions of doing things. Jnana Shakti is a separate thing. Let's just look at karma. So the karma means that everyone is given the Shakti. It's kind of like, everyone is given a very, very sophisticated instrument. It's a very sophisticated instrument. Very sophisticated instrument. Like, like a buzz saw. Very powerful with electricity and so on. You can use this rotary saw or buzz saw or something. It's a very sophisticated instrument. The question is, are you going to use that instrument to free yourself or to keep yourself limited life after life after life? It requires education. So any very powerful, instrument, sophisticated instrument like that, these power tools, they require a lot of training, a lot of knowledge, safety. And if you're able to do that, they're beautiful. Even a simple thing like a knife is a very, very simple instrument, but one we cannot do without. If you wanted to peel an apple or something, you cannot do it with a spoon. You need a knife. But if you don't know how to use a knife, like a child doesn't, you can injure yourself. But if you do, then it's very marvelous. So the karma is also an instrument, because it is given, that power is given to you from the birth. And so we need to learn how to use it. If we use it without then for my own immediate gratification, then it just binds me even more. Why? Because then I am a slave to experiences. I just want pleasant experiences. And I work towards manufacturing situations that give me pleasant experiences. This is the unintelligent use of karma. I think I was discussing that with, I don't know if this class or some of the other class. So in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, that it's Yajnavalkya, teaching to Janaka, is saying that really Manushya, any human being, is given, is one of two types. There can be many more types, but for the purpose of this analysis. So one is what is called Kamayamanaha, and the other one is called Akamayamanaha. Kamayamanaha and Akamayamanaha. What means is that one type which is not an intelligent use of karma, which is kamanayamana, is to use desire to satisfy yourself. This kamayamana. And this is what we all do. We all have different variations. What we do is all different. But we all do the same thing. That if you look at it, people, they are visiting restaurants to eat, and music to listen to, or some experience or something. This is all we are all experiencing through our desires. And the desires have a very funny way of being useful. So they have two important things. One is that they are very personal. What one person's desire is not the same as yours and mine. And the other one is that I must have a desire for something. Very, very personal and very specific. These are the two things that we're doing. And what are not desires that are personal and specific, they don't bother me. So I have to own it up, and I have a set of desires that way. Everybody has a different set of, I want to do this, then I want to do this. You know, as I was telling you, this is my current observation about people. You know, I was telling you about this very a friend of ours who is extraordinarily rich, like $1 billion. We just know them socially. And it's an interesting situation to observe their life. And so they have this money. And you would think, you know, now they will be, you know, supposing you may have $1 billion. I don't know that. I'm just assuming you don't, but it's very possible you may have it. If you have $1 billion, what will you do? What will you do? And what I observe about them is they want to see every corner of the world before they die. Funny situation. Now they're very busy. They just go to one trip, and while they are in their trip, they are planning for the next one. I just look at them and I say, oh my goodness. And it must bother them, and it does, that they have not seen everything. I am very happy that I don't have this kind of a desire. I'm happy where I am. Really, I'm very happy with California and where we are and so on and so forth. What more do I want? If I go someplace, it is because, you know, I'm needed to be there. Anyway, kamayamana are those people who are unfortunately beset by fulfilling a set of desires. Is one thing. And then the other set is akamayamana. Akamayamana. That means that desires do not bother them. Desires do not bother them. So here, just a commentary on this. I'm actually just going in different directions and not even adhering to this, but this is okay. This is all part of the whole thing. So one interesting thing, and this is relevant in the teaching of the Bhagavat Gita, that to go from kamayamana to akamayamana is very difficult. Why is it relevant to Gita? I'll tell you why this is an important thing. I mean, very central to the whole teaching. Arjuna doesn't want to fight because he sees now some problems. Before that, he was so enthused with building an army, learning how to be a good warrior, and all of that. He was busy. He had not thought about all of that. And now all of a sudden, when it is starting to hit him, he says, oh my God, what's going to happen here? Very soon people are going to be killed. Who will be left behind? How will their lives be? I don't want to go through this. This is like saying you are certainly aware of, in a way, it's not a direct parallel, that, gosh, I had a lot of desires. And I don't want to have, like this couple, it's very possible that they might decide, I think we have traveled enough and so on and so forth. That done with it. I think we're just going to sit together and not do anything. That's not going to help. You know why it won't help? Because the things that prompted them to lead this life of wanderlust is still there. Still there. So, a kamayamana is not the absence of kamaya. Means the person who is independent of desires is not one who doesn't have desires, because desires are going to come, whether you like it or not. So in case of Bhagavad Gita also, Arjuna said, I don't want to fight, because I just want to go to Rishikesh and meditate. And Krishna said, no, it is not that easy. It is not that easy. You cannot just... He said, why not? Because I'm just going to just give up, this I can understand the stupidity of war. And so this is exactly what happened to Ashoka when Buddhism was introduced. He certainly realized this is stupidity. Let's just have no wars at all. And that really became the downfall of India. Buddhism really almost like semi-destroyed India because of some stupidity because people have to live, they have to agree with how to share things. So the thing is that the absence of desires is not the solution. Then what is the solution? You have to understand the limitations of desire, and if there is an alternative to it, and strive towards it. That is very difficult to do. To live a life without desires is not easy, but you have to make a beginning. You cannot discover the fact that you are the thing that you're looking for. You already are there, without first starting to look at yourself rather than the desires. And so all of the Vedanta, all the acharyas say that to become desireless, you have to work for it. Otherwise, it will bother you. In fact, and it is written in, I don't remember the exact verse, that Krishna says that a person who is outwardly just calm and so on and so forth, there's the word used as mithyacharaha. Means he's a false person. Inside you've got all kinds of thoughts going on in your mind and so on, and externally you're trying to control it. Not going to happen. So I've said that to you before also, that the instruction, Swami Dayanand used to say that Krishna said, Arjuna, this is not going to, I'm telling you from your perspective. I know what your life is and so on. You cannot just go to Rishikesh and meditate as you are now. So he says, why not? Because I'll tell you what will happen. For a few days you'll be happy. After a while, then your mind is still, you are a warrior at heart. You are not trained to be a sadhu. You need to train to be a sadhu. It's not going to happen overnight. So that is just abandonment of duty, and you cannot do that. You have to learn to be, at each step you have to say, yes, I can see why my desires, I'm so dependent on them. This is not freedom. This is what I have to see. And then you become slowly free. Slowly means that you're already free, but slowly you will discover that I am free. This is what has to happen. So therefore, and then the way to do that is closing the loop on what I said earlier, that karma, if it can be used as a yoga, is very beautiful. Very beautiful. It's an instrument which is very powerful, very sharp, but like a sword, like a knife, it can hurt you if you're not using it properly. And the way to use it properly, in the Karma Yoga, I'm not even the section, right now we are on Jnana Yoga, but I'm just going back to the renunciation of Karma Yoga, is you now do things with the recognition that there is an order to the whole life. There is a structure. There is a reason why things are happening the way they are happening. There is a person who is in charge. And what is happening is based on exactly where you are at any one time. And instead of making it worse, so this is what is called kamana. So kamayamana or kamaha, desires, is that instead of recognizing that yes, your life is based on kamaha, but you now want to diminish it. Purposely diminish it. Actively diminish it with some work, while discovering that you in fact are the very source of the joy, an independent source of the joy. Take some baby steps. Do not completely be engaged in the fulfillment of your desires without recognizing that you are the very source. Because right now you are completely oblivious of it. I am not joyful right now. I'm not the source of joyful. But just fulfilling my desires is the reason for my joy. This is the way your mindset is today. And it is not going to completely change over until you resolve and you think and you observe and you analyze and you implement and you learn from each step, and slowly you will see, yes, this is the right direction. I am going in the right direction. I don't need to just go around seeing various places of the earth. Not necessary. How will that help me? How will that help me? I am what I am. And I don't need to be other than what I am. And so this process, if you approach your karma with this, all of a sudden the karma becomes karma yoga. Otherwise it is just pure karma. This is the whole subject matter of the entire Gita. Entire Gita. And one aspect of that, of this, is the discovery of prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma. This is a very important thing for us to really understand. The prarabdha karma. The prarabdha karma means that however things are happening, let me not make it worse. I have to fulfill the situation that I am in. And I don't need to fuel the fire. Let the fire die. The fire is going to take its own time. It's not going to, it has a certain momentum. Let me not fuel it even more. This is the concept of prarabdha karma. That you are in a mess not because you just didn't know, you did the best you could in your previous life, you got up to this point, and yes, life is messy, no doubt about it. Because this is where you are at this point in time. Otherwise you'd be at a different place. But you are at that point. But now, do not make it any worse. And so what that means is, the first thing that I need to do, I may not be able to do it right away, but the first thing I need to do is to direct my kriyas and my karma on things that are needed to fulfill my situation in life. How do I know what my situation in life is? What are the things that I needed? So going back to it, I need to make a distinction, an intelligent distinction. This is what is called making a distinction between prarabdha karma and kamya karma. So prarabdha karma means that things that appear to me that need to be done. In fact, I would say that if we are seeking Ishvara, His blessings, if we are looking to see if where the God is, where is Ishvara, I don't need to look any more than being sensitive to my prarabdha karma. Because what my experiences are nothing but the Ishvara and myself, the Jiva, working together to bring me to this point in time. And so the presence of Ishvara is the presence of experiences in my life. None other than that. Let me not look for some, no, this is not Ishvara, this is just milpitas and so on and so forth, and some people who are bothering me. That's different. I want to go to Ishvara. This is my stupidity. There is nothing other than Ishvara. If your people around you get mad at you, it is Ishvara getting mad at you. If your spouse thinks that you are not doing the right thing, it is Ishvara through the spouse is telling you not. How else is Ishvara going to come? None other than that. This is what it is. Through the prarabdha karma. So submit to it. Do whatever is necessary. Don't fight it. It's like fighting with Ishvara. Fighting with facts. Don't fight with it. I mean, you can if you want to, but it hasn't done any good. It's like trying to part the whole ocean and saying, I'm going to part the whole ocean. I'm going to take it cup at a time, and I'm going to completely empty it. Isn't there a story about this somewhere? There's a Uh, yeah, there is a Panchakarma story that there is a bird that had laid some eggs, and the ocean washed the eggs away. And this bird was so angry at the ocean that it says, "I'll teach you." And so he says, "I'm going to take the water from you a little bit at a time and throw it away. And after a while you'll become completely dry." It's the stupidity that we have in our life also. That, we don't recognize the presence of Ishvara. How? Because really all my experiences are sanctioned by Ishvara. He's given his signature. And so the distinction between Kamya Karma and Prarabdha Karma is very essential in my life. I should make that distinction, whatever. And how do I know? Well, whatever is needed from you, your situations will demand it. There may be some minor adjustments that you can do here and there, but by most token, so direct your kriyas towards that. And it is said in our Shastra that really speaking, they say the debtor's life is not very peaceful. A person that has taken a lot of debt is not peaceful at all. I mean, just like we have mortgages on our car, mortgages on our house, these are debts. And it's not peaceful until you pay it off. So in a way it is said in the Shastra that not responding to things that are needed from you is not repaying the debt. You ignore it. It's pretty much like you get a notice from someone which says, "You are late in paying the bills." Then you say, "Oh, I don't have the time to do that." I mean, it has happened to all of us. It happened to me too. And then you say, then you get another letter. "By the way, in addition to the previous fine, there is an additional fine because you have ignored it." This is exactly our situation. What are needed from our life, what people's expectations are, I ignore it. Instead, I'm fueling the fire by creating, what if I just do this? What if I go such exotic places? Well, something is needed from you, and you should be paying that, but in the meantime, you're creating brand new desires. And that gets added on to the things that are, this is like the bill payer, and he says, "Okay, it's up to you, whatever you want to do. That'll be even worse tomorrow." So my most intelligent approach towards Karma Yoga is to make a distinction between Kamya Karma and Prarabdha Karma. And if that distinction is not clear, then think about it. Make it clear. Is this purely of my own, for my own pleasure? Or is it something that I have to do to fulfill the very destiny of Ishvara's presence in my life? And so if I do that, then I transfer from the realm of Kamaya Mana to Akamaya Mana. And in a way, this is a very beautiful thing where Ishvara can reward you. He can reward you because he can reward you in one of two ways. One is a temporary success versus a permanent success. This is the thing. And makes it difficult because the temporary success gives me some temporary high. Yes, this was nice. And then you feel that I should do it again. Somehow that, if I just string together, this is exactly why this rich couple who feels that if I can see all the places of the world, then I would be very happy. Okay, go and do it. Let's see what happens. So, Ishvara can reward you in both ways. Kamayamana means that this is just temporary satisfaction on your part. But see, you have to become wise enough for yourself, not for anyone else. Is this the right thing for me to do? And you should come to the point that Ishvara says, if you simply finish the job that you have put yourself in, finish it, pay your debts, do things that are necessary. In the meantime, discover that your nature is an independent source of joy. Then you transfer from Kamayamana to Akamayamana. This is a very important way of approaching this from the standpoint of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, from Yajnavalkya's teaching to Janaka. And pretty much the same here in Bhagavat Gita also. So the thing is that, as now to summarize almost, instead of just going through, I'll go through the number 18 to 21. The number 13 to 21 is the section of what is called Jnana Yoga. And here also I'll make one, since I'm on the funny track of just not following the Bhagavad Gita as I normally do, but just giving you a collection of ideas to think about and so on. Jnana Yoga is very similar to Karma Yoga in the following way. What I said about Karma Yoga was that there is a way of doing karma without yoga for your own immediate pleasure. And there is a way of doing karma as a yoga for your permanent happiness. Right? So this is the distinction I made between karma and karma yoga. We can make the same distinction between jnanam and jnana yoga. How? Because just to become intelligent and to become sharp and to accumulate a lot of knowledge can be harmful to you if it is not used to discover your own independence. You are just accumulating, just like you are saying, I'm going to visit all the places in the world. Similarly, you can say, I want to learn this. There is some quote. We go to Stanford University, I get invitation from them. This is all for people who have retired. Learn a new skill. Learn something this. So you feel, that's a wonderful thing, I should learn this. You keep on learning new things and accumulating. And why? Because I want to be wise. You go to the parties and you say, do you know this? Everybody says, no, we didn't know any of this. Well, let me tell you about it. Everybody feels, wow, what a sharp, intelligent person this is. What good does it do unless it promotes your independent source of joy? So therefore, jnana can also be used by itself or as a yoga. See, that's so the whole thing about Bhagavad Gita is the intelligent use of instruments that you already have. This is the beauty of this, beautiful. And so, anyway, now time doesn't permit it. I think I'll just spend some time asking, any answers to any questions. But this section of 13, all the way up to 21, is devoted to Jnana Yoga. So, as I mentioned before, these are the two main components. There are different some commentaries on other aspects, but these are the two main components of Bhagavad Gita, Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga is part of Karma Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga can also be seen as an adjunct to Jnana Yoga also. It's a one that sharpens the utility of the other two. But Jnana Yoga is also used from time to time. So here he says, then starting with the first verse of this section was number 13, as you know, we've already done this. Sarva karmani manasa sanyasya asthe sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan. Na kartritvam na karmani lokasya srijati prabhu na karma phala samyogam svabhavastu pravartate. So this is how do you use the knowledge? How do you see the progression? How do you see you're making progress? So all of that was given. And then I think probably the key verse in this was number 17. I'm just jumping from here to there. Tad buddhayaha, tad atmanaha, tad nishtha, tad parayanaha, gachanti apunaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmashaha. So here, as we saw in the last class, the stages of jnanam were given. So now if you say, okay, fine, I understand Jnana Yoga, but what are the elements of it? Where do I start? Which direction do I go? This is a very good verse for that. And here Swami Paramarthananda from Chennai had given a beautiful commentary. And he rearranged the words. I really liked what he had done. So he rearranged that. He says, the first one is Tat Parayana. Then Tad Buddhayaha. Tad Atmanaha. Then Attat Nishtha. So, in fact, let me summarize what he had given. So you can do that. Where was it? I wrote it down. No, it's not here. It's here. Bear with me for 1 second. Let me find his. Yeah, it's here. Yeah, okay. So this is a very brief summary. I think we kind of did this before, and if it's not clear, then I think we can do it again. But so we're given as, so again, Tat Parayana was number 1, Tat Buddhaya number 2, Tat Atmanaha number 3, Tat Nishtha is number 4. So the first one is knowing the value of knowledge, self-knowledge. Not any knowledge, but the value of self-knowledge. This needs to be known. Unless I know the value, I won't pursue it. I won't follow through with it because I don't have the value for it. We only have desires that we have a value for. So, Tat Parayana means that please discover the value for it. Don't even engage in it until you see the value for it. This is what happens in our life. We see something, this would be nice to do. People will say, why? What do you mean? He says, I see some value. This will happen, this will happen, this will happen. Then he says, okay, fine. So the first stage is the value for knowledge. The second one, tad buddhayaha. I can give you my personal experience on. I'm also working through the stages, but just to give you an idea that when I met Swami Chinmayananji, and I was with him for 2 years before I met Swami Dayanand, he gave me a glimpse of what it was, and it was very pleasant. I was very taken in. But it wasn't until I met Swami Dayananda that the value for the knowledge became clear to me. This is something very valuable. I have to really, as a definite goal. It was not clear until I met Swami Dayananda. And so therefore, I entered the second stage, which is tad buddhaya. Tad buddhaya means, okay, now that it's clear to me that's what I want to do, let me now do it. Let me now pursue the study in a way that it fulfills the value for it. So the second stage is to know what are we talking about? What Atma, the independence of the source of joy, which was a promise. But how is it that I'm going to do it? What are the elements to it? What do I study? What do I think about? This is the second one. Then tad atmanaha. And the third stage is where you can see it working. That indeed is me. What the Shastra. So this is the vision of the Shastra being transferred as the vision of yourself. There comes a point where it's not as though this is what Bhagavat Gita is saying. This is what I am saying. In fact, I was just thinking about it just this morning actually. There is a verse, there are a lot of verses where this section comes in which says, Ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami. Tatman avatu tad vaktaram avatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram. On these verses. So there are sections which says, Ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami. So both of them have the same meaning. Ritam and Satyam have the same meaning, but a slight difference. The Ritam Vadishyami means, let me understand what the Shastra is saying. Fully understand. Ritam means truth. So this is to understand the vision of the Shastra. Is called Ritam. Then Satyam Vadishyami, I will also speak the truth. Vadishyami is a future tense, means that I will say what the Shastra is saying, and I will say that what I am saying. So Satyam and Ritam are slightly different. Ritam is the truth enunciated by Shastra, and Satyam is my understanding of the truth written by the Shastra. It is my vision, and that comes from the third stage, tad atmanaha. Then comes the fourth stage, and we actually went through this in different ways in the Mandukya Upanishad this morning, where we have Adhamadhikari, Madhyamadhikari, Uttamadhikari, all of that we went through in some more detail. But the fourth stage is Tat Nishtha. And so that means that even though I have a pretty good idea of the vision of the Shastra, but it is not yet useful to me in my daily life. Why not is it? Because I get inundated by my old samskaras. I react to things, forgetting who I am, what is, and so on, and I just become my old self. That means I don't have the nishtha yet, and so that is the fourth stage of the when slowly. We'll go over some examples of that, so this clarifies. I'm just giving you a quick example. Then he says, Gachanti apunaravrittim jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. He says that this jnana yoga is, if you follow this path, so to speak, of parayanaha, buddhayaha, atmanaha, nishthaha, and so on, what to say, you will become a Mahatma, a free person, totally not set by any problems of life, free of any kind of limitations. So this is the track that Sri Krishna is using, and we have a few more verses to go, but this is what is called the section of the Jnana Yoga that we were doing. Okay, so I'll hopefully still leave some time for questions. Om asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om purnamidah purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Questions? Yeah.
On verse 17, on the, here say, Apurnatva, the goal of non-return. You're trying to attain this self-knowledge without expecting any present day benefits, or without any self.
No, you don't want the second line of verse number 17? Which one? I'm sorry. Which
the last word. Apurna. In the explanation section.
Jnana nirdhu, state from which there is no return.
Yeah.
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
So no, what it means is that the way our life's evolution is that we go back in a circle. Every time you have to, just like a new play, next life, with new ways of discovering yourself. But in the meantime, having a life which is full of problems. And so your rebirth, the very birth means that you have to go through a lot of problems. And so there means there is no rebirth. You're done. You're finished in terms of discovering that it's like you're not a new wave of the ocean, you become the whole ocean itself. Yeah. Okay.
One more thing.
Yeah, sure.
You mentioned Krishna knows Arjuna by he's a Kshatriya. Is it by his previous actions, or is it by his birth?
No, by his previous actions. Both from the fact that he was born to be a leader and that he fulfills the destiny of being a leader and a very active person. So that's what is meant by Kshatriya. And one who's dependent upon for the safety of a lot of people and so on. Yeah, so he knows him by his nature. Not yet a Brahmana. So Brahmana is always by knowledge. The knowers of Brahman are called Brahmana. Others are simply born in a situation where they can reach that point, but everybody can reach that point. So the real Brahmanas are the knowers of Brahman. Yeah.
So on the same topic, how do you know what you're supposed to do in the top? By birth I'm a Brahmin, but what does that even mean?
No, that doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It just means you look at your current circumstance, and really it's very simple. It's just not simple, but I mean not that difficult. Where you see, is this what I am supposed to do under the circumstance? If I have a child that I have to educate, if I have to make sure that I take care of my immediate family, whatever it is that may be done, some friends, your own body, your own welfare, all of that is part of what you're supposed to do. And to a certain extent, quite frankly, I think I may overstate it. It's not as though don't have any fun. So kamya karma would also mean having some going to concerts, having some, because you need to have a good experience of your life. So you can do that. But before you embark into a major new initiative, you have to see, is this, and I think I gave that example, which I would repeat again, that suppose you are supposed to do something, and instead of doing that, you're off doing something which is not necessary, and just because of the thinking of your own mind and so on, then that you're creating a problem for yourself.
No, but my first question, how does this, how it's going to lead me to the point where I want to know what's behind the veil, and how do I get to that point, or just do what you do, but then what?
So both are, that's a great point, really, I agree with you. You cannot just fulfill things without knowing how it leads you to your own, how it leads to some happiness. And so what is said is both are needed. One is that you have to start the process of self-discovery. This is one part of it. And the other part is that you give up your previous preoccupation with things that are trivial. So both of them have to be done simultaneously. So if either one of them is not fulfilled, these are the two birds. This is what is called, in the parlance of Vedanta, called Viveka and Vairagya. Viveka and Vairagya. So Viveka means, what is the true source of happiness coming from? And Vairagya means not continuing to make mistakes, to have the courage to follow the Viveka. Swami Chinmanand used to say that. He says that Viveka and Vairagya are the two wings of a bird. And if either of the wings is missing, the bird cannot fly. But if you have both Viveka and the courage to do Vairagya, then you can start to take flight. Yeah.
Could I bother you one more time? It's, I'm just gonna. So.
Or what we could do is you can just come and just talk to me, and everybody else can. It's up to you, whatever you.
I guess I'll talk later then. I don't know.
Okay. All right.